Starting to the top right, we have the StarTale player in blue. This is a guy who will really...
StarTale, Avenge.
Don't get cheeky on me here, Street Fighter Voice. The guy who really teared it up in the Challenger League last season, especially good against Terran, but also with a decent record against Zerg.
Speaking of Zergs, we have a 9 pool coming out for our Zerg here at the bottom right. He is.
LGIM, Ragnarok.
So a very aggressive strategy here.
Yeah, this is already so cool. Ragnarok definitely preparing ability against his opponent. Talking about his stats against Protoss, he only played a single best of 3 against Protoss offline in Heart of the Swarm. He took the match against Puzzle with a 2-0. On the other hand, we have Avenge, who already played 5 best of 3s. He won 4 of them. The only best of 3 that he lost was actually like as a best of 1. It was against Naxo. He lost that offline in Heart of the Swarm once again. And let's see what exactly Avenge can do against this type of style. Because right now, Ragnarok is laying down the law.
He's actually going Nexus first, so this could be a problem. Luckily for him, as Pylon's in the main, that makes this still holdable. It's not going to be easy. The Overlord is scouting in the correct direction right now as well, so he's going to see this very soon. He's going to be very happy to know it is Nexus first, and he's committing heavily, goes into 8 lings. Not just 6, and I think he's going to keep making more.
Yeah, he's going to make a lot more. If you go into a 9 pool, you are actually committing. You can transition out of this, but you want to do initial damage. Gets the Queen as well, and we have now the gate, the Nexus on the way. Here comes the Forge. He still doesn't know where the Protoss play is. This is his biggest problem. This is why we have a couple of links heading into the middle of the map. He wants to see with the Overlord if there is a base to the top right. If not, he has to go cross map. He's still waiting. He's going cross map, and here comes the Overlord. He gets a glimpse of the first pile in just a second, and now he knows
he needs
a lot of time lost already, and he needs to go to the top right.
He's going there now, but this is all going to be about the control here from Avenge. I think he should be able to hold as long as he micros properly. The cannon has already started.
Oh, but this is going to be so close.
Away. He sees the ling. He needs to micro. He needs to make sure he gets a cannon up here. Here come those lings. He needs to cancel that cannon and start a cannon in his main base right now. He's actually going to try to pull his probes down. I think this is a mistake.
He has to cancel here. He needs more. He needs a cannon. He needs a cannon in the main base. I completely agree with you here. At least he has to throw down a cannon. There is to be a cancel. Ragnarok is opening this up with a bang. The Nexus.
He doesn't cancel
He didn't cancel it. He did not cancel the Nexus. I cannot believe it.
He's desperately trying to buy time here, I suppose, for the cannon to finish in the main base. But that's 400 resources already down the drain.
Oh my god, yeah.
This is all about the micro here too. It's not even over yet.
I think this was a mistake, because in the main base he could have just used his probes, putting them into a pocket, and then as soon as the Zerglings engage, they can go for a mineral walk, try to surround them and take them down while the cannon finishes up. But now he's losing the Nexus, and as you said, 400 minerals simply gone. He's also going to lose this Pylon.
Yeah, Pylon's going to go down here. This could not have really been much better for Avenge.
This is a great opening here.
For Ragnarok.
For Ragnarok, of course.
If Ragnarok, maybe he had sent his links a little bit faster, that's the only way this could have been better.
This spells trouble already. And the Zerg play, he is transitioning, going into his own expansion, taking gas. The second Queen is on the way. Having a quick look at the Harvesters here. We still have a lead currently for the Protoss player, who's at 25 to 22 drones. In the main base, the Forge is, of course, his saving grace with that one cannon that we have. And he also has his gateway, but everything else is delayed. The Cybernetics core just now on the production tab. This is going to be very difficult for Avenge to come back. He's not dead yet, but still, losing the Nexus was a problem. Buys him a little bit of time, but I think he could have held even with a cancel.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a big mountain to climb for him right now. The thing is, he can't start a new Nexus because the Lings are still alive and well. And the probe, he comes here, he was thinking about it, but the answer is no. And because of the timing here, it doesn't really even make sense for him to try to go into a 4-gate. And he actually may lose his core. With good micro here, he's going to lose the core. He should not have made it here. I mean, the idea is to make a wall, but the core could have been made next to the gateway instead. That would have been a much better choice. The Mothership core being out actually will push these links back. He will save it.
You know, actually, with that one probe on the map, that could be very... That could actually take Ragnarok down. There's a probe on the map and it wasn't scouted. And currently Ragnarok thinks that there is no probe. He is pretty sure at this point there is nothing that can endanger him. And that could be a big problem for him later on if suddenly a few warped in zealots are just heading into his mineral line. And
he could also cannon. He has the Forge. It's a bit weird choice, but he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's going to do it.
He's going to do it here.
Did the hatch see the probe?
He didn't see it. He did not see. I checked.
But the Lings come... the Lings are going to the left. They're still looking if there's a probe somewhere hidden. And this pylon is going to go through, and then we will see a cannon. So for Avenge, suddenly, it's payback time.
Yeah. He's going to need a lot of cannons, though, because if he just makes one, the Lings will just laugh at it and kill it, because he still has so many Lings on the map. Right now, he has 10 Lings in total. So he's going to need, you know, at least 2 and probably 3 to make sure he can actually make this worth it. The Lings here, are they going to check?
It's already too late, Wolf. They can't take down those 2 cannons. He will have to cancel the hatch. There is just no question of that anymore. He can save it with the roaches, but it's going to delay everything. And, well, with 2 cannons, he could actually save it.
Yeah, he's attacking his own pylon. Why is he doing this? He doesn't realize he's attacking his own pylon. He doesn't know.
Avenge! Okay, now here we go.
But still, that cost him a lot of time.
And it costs him the shields, and now the pylon, of course, is now being saved. Their queen is gone, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake here. He also loses a lot of his Lings. The cannon's still on nearly full shields. He will be able to save it with the roaches, but he's losing larva here.
Yeah, even more important, he lost his probe, so he cannot get any additional cannons up. So he's just relying on the ones that he already
roaches
have.
Back.
Ragnarok with a few micro mistakes here. He could just try to pull them back. The cancel on the 3rd cannon as he realizes that he cannot hold this. He at least killed a couple of Zerglings and the queen.
And a few roaches. So you know what? That was okay. It didn't kill the hatch, but still, I mean, look at the supply. Ragnarok has not really been too pushed back by this because he wanted to make the roaches anyways. Losing those 2 roaches and the queen, yeah, it's not ideal, but he still has such a lead here. And this Nexus, he will hold it, but it's going to be a challenge. He's probably going to lose some of those walled-off buildings. How many roaches are there? There's 10 roaches.
We have a double Stargate commitment now for Avenge. It's actually a smart decision. He's pulling Alicia here. Will most likely go for the Void Rays. And Void Rays will help him a lot against Roach aggression. And then he can use them to just move in. But for now, he needs force fields. He needs a photon overcharge. And there it is already trying to keep those units at bay. Here we have the gateways morphing into warp gates. And of course, at the same time, the force fields being dropped by the sentries. Additional rounds of warp bits are already coming through, trying to save that wall.
He's going to hold here. He's got too many sentries. The roaches are not getting through here. Should go ahead and chase with that Mothership Core. Smartly does. You know, he could have Time Warp there to slow some of those units to kill a few more, but I like his choice to just keep that energy because he may need it again for a second attack. Hydralisk Den coming up, speaking of second attacks. I could definitely see a timing here, especially with the macro hatch going down.
You know, I actually thought a little bit about it, and the one thing that I was very curious about was especially that cannon attacking his own pylon. I feel the only reason why he would want to do that on purpose is actually because he wants to make sure that the hatch goes up. But the problem with that is that if he actually lets it cancel, I feel that is much better for him in this situation.
Yeah.
It's just too late. If that happens right at the beginning when the Zerg player gets his base at 420, then you can definitely try to pull that off so that the hatch actually finishes because you're very sure that you can take it down.
And the thing is, if he cancels the hatchery, that's also pretty good for you. Then you cancel your
that's what I mean. In this particular scenario, I feel him attacking and actually allowing the cancel would have been much better because then you lose all that mining time. And with the time that we already had in the game, we had the Roach one already there. I can only assume that Avenge did think there was no Roach one just yet, that there were only Zerglings. That's the only explanation that I come up with why he would want to do this. So
that's a fair point. You know, I hadn't really considered that. This is a nice warp in here. He sees the cannon, or sees the hatchery. The hatchery doesn't see the pylon. So he warps in these ults. This also buys him some time to keep the roaches off his back. Void Ray is actually doing some work at the top left to clear up a place for the 3rd hatchery to be placed, or the 3rd nexus, that is to say. Unfortunately for him, though, he doesn't know about the burrowed Zergling, and without an observer, he's not going to be able to do anything about this. Pylon is now spotted. He did such a good job of hiding his Stargate tech until the last second as well, so the Hydra's here a little bit late, which allows him to bully these ground units around the map while he's trying to take that 3rd.
We still have a 50 supply lead for Ragnarok, of course, for the LGM player, but Avenge is starting to stabilize a little bit and trying to make his way into this game. For him, one of the biggest problems, of course, now establishing a 3rd base. We have the 4th already coming up for Ragnarok. And Avenge just has to make its choice here. He has to either try to defend the 3rd or he has to go for a push. And he has the means to be aggressive here. He has pylons at the front that he can use for additional warp-ins. Maybe he's just going to rely on a couple of run-bys, but he has to do something. He cannot just sit tight right now and let the Zerg player just do whatever he wants to, because then he will lose it in the end because of the macro game.
Yeah. Very true. You know, he has to make sure that... One thing I'm a little bit concerned about is that he's trying to skip the Spire, and that can allow him to get Vipers out here a little bit faster and deal with the Colossi that way. And on second thought, making Corruptors isn't really going to work against this either because he has so many Void Rays already. Cancel gets put down here is way too much army for him to deal with. He needs to use good Force Whips actually to push the rest of it back. So I correct myself even. Making Corruptors actually not the right choice against when you've already scouted the Void Rays.
Yeah, he has the chance to at least go for the Vipers if he goes down an attack path, and you can really see that he wants to commit to the ranged units. He's getting those upgrades. He's not going into, let's say, Infestor and Ultralisk composition in the late game. The run-bys that we were talking about earlier are now coming into effect, but he only has a few Zealots that he commits to it, trying to just draw the forces of his opponent thin and making sure that he can get that third base, but it's just so much.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is he only has 3 queens, and he has right now already 4 hatcheries with the fifth base being his hive. So he has five hatcheries that he could be injecting. Now he starts to make extra queens because the Void Rays alone might make you want to get a few queens, but he needs to get those injects. He's kind of lacking a little bit on that right now.
5 Vipers are now coming into play, and they are of course the biggest threat now to those Colossi. We do not have High Templars yet. We are going now into a phase where Avenge adds his Twilight Council, so he can not only get those +2 attack upgrades and armor upgrades, but he can head straight into the Templar Archive that he needs. The Twilight Council alone, of course, not going to be the biggest thing. He needs to have feedback against those Vipers. Dealing with them for him is nearly impossible at this point. And if Ragnarok identifies that, then things are going to get very grim for Avenge because he cannot deal with those Vipers. And if then attack comes in, he can just abduct everything into the range without having to worry about feedback at all.
Yeah, this is true. I gotta ask you a question. You know, is it ever a conscious decision to not make queens so you can have more freed up supply to have a bigger army? Is that one reason why he might have less queens here?
No. Okay. No, not at this point. Like if you're making the decision between 3 queens and 5.
Yeah,
that's 4 supply more.
So,
and you can even go into the oversupply by
oh, look at this! Oh, can he save it? No way! Oh my god, he saves it!
That was I've never seen that before. Abducting Zealots to save the hatch. I was not even touching on that subject anymore because I'm like, yeah, that hatch is dead. We can talk about this in a second, but then suddenly those abducts come into play and everything is just gone. I'm like, what?
By the way, Avenge is kind of stabilizing a little bit here. He still needs a 4th base eventually, but he has a really strong army, and he's hallucinated some Colossi. There's no Overseer nearby, so he might yank the wrong ones. This is kind of an awkward position, though. He gets that Mothership Core right away, and he gets all the right units.
Well, he yanked one of the hallucinations in there, but one of the Colossi is actually able to get away, and now suddenly it's Avenge able to hold against this. We have still a lot of resources for Ragnarok. He's on 4,000 minerals and 1,600 gas, but for now the Protoss player actually holds, and this gives him the 3rd base economy, and he can now add his additional attack. He's already going for the 2nd robotics, and we will most likely see him with the Templar Archive fairly soon to get those High Templars out with their feedback.
Yeah, don't forget the upgrades are much better as well for Ragnarok. Still, he's going to have +3 around the same time that +2 finishes for Avenge, and there's no armor upgrade, whereas the +2 Carapace now being started as well. But still, now he can take a 4th base, and as long as he just turtles here properly, it's very hard for Ragnarok to actually end the game, and this gives him the chance to max out. He already has double Stargate, he can add a Fleet Beacon and start producing some Tempest, so this game could go on for a bit longer yet.
Yeah, it could definitely do that. For Ragnarok, we are now in a position where Ragnarok has to take like a step back, at least in his mind, and has to be like, okay, breathe, macro it up, get base after base, make sure that you don't run into run-bys. He needs to invest some of those minerals into spines and spores. This is something that he has to do. Get more bases, more satellite bases, just saturate them a little bit, go for the gas, and build a ton of spines and spores. But he goes in again with the
gets a big Colossus. The real one does go down, but a lot of wasted DPS there. Viper's a little bit low on energy. He needs to go for another grab here. It's so hard. There's too many Stalkers.
Yeah, and you know, actually with those Colossi in the back, he can do a lot of damage. Even Blinding Cloud was being used here. The Time Warp is still good. Another Abduct comes into play, and the Colossi is gone, but another one just finishing coming out of the Robo, and he's chasing down those Hydralisks. Once again, a lot of resources lost for Ragnarok here.
Yeah, and you know, at the same time though, Avenge is trying to switch into Tempest, but he still hasn't secured that 4th Nexus, and I worry for him. He's added so much tech. You know, he has double Robo that he wants to build Colossi off. He hasn't gotten those feedbacks yet, which are really, really important for him to have. And he needs to be able to get this 4th base up. I respect the idea to go for a 4th before the or go for the max army before the 4th. I will kill this hatch.
Yeah, he can kill this hatch and snipe it, but I have to really say that I'm a little bit disappointed that Ragnarok does not just reinforce his bases a little bit better with spines and spores. He has a couple, but not as much as he could. Here now we have additional ones being built, but also the transition, of course, for the Zerg player is a good one. He's going into Brood Lords. That's what you want to do. And
he's forced to cancel his hatchery again. That was a bit sloppy to just make the hatchery without chasing the army away.
You know, Avenge is fighting like a lion. He's trying to keep his chances alive. He was so far behind right from the start that Ragnarok is basically still in a position where it's very difficult for him to lose the game. But he's also playing with fire. He doesn't take a 5th base. He's only trying to establish that 5th. But now finally he gets the bases at the bottom left. That was what I was waiting for the entire time.
He gets double even.
Exactly. He needs to make sure that he has spines and spores there. He has the resources, and he still did not see those pylons.
Yeah. The pylons, on the other hand, didn't see the hatchery. It's only if he saw the drones will he actually go over there. He's not doing any warpins there. This attack, though, the bases put aside, is so potentially deadly because he has not only the Broodlords, but the Vipers have built up enough energy. They used enough of those Devourers, or the whatever the ability is called. Here we go. The fight is on.
And we have immediately those Tempests being yanked in, but they're trying to take down the Broodlords. This is what they are designed for to do. They are the Broodlord counter, but they're a little bit too far away right now. The Vipers once again getting close. The rest of the army is trying to deal with the Stalkers and the Colossi. They blink back, trying to get into a safer position, and those Tempests still doing damage to the Broodlords. The supply in favor of Ragnarok.
Ragnarok doing such a good job here.
Oh,
he trades.
The blink.
The blink is good here, but you know, the Remax is instant here for Ragnarok. He's got so much money, and he's going to get even more with those 2 additional bases he's added. And as you can see here, the pylon's still not spotting them. He hasn't moved the probe around. He has no idea they're there.
But so far we have a 3-base Protoss against a 4-place Zerg. So in terms of economy, of course, Ragnarok is ahead. But Avenge is still in a spot where he could potentially take it. The Hydras are trying to close the distance to the Colossi, but they are not in a position to do this.
Yeah,
and now the base is going down again. Maybe Avenge.
Avenge Remax, or rather Ragnarok Remax with Hydralisk. He only has a few Vipers. He is going to get these Tempests.
He's moving in again, trying to snipe them, and he's getting all of those.
And, you know, he's probably going to start making a few more Broodlords now at this point. And here come those Vipers. All he needs is a few clutch grabs. Here we go!
He gets them both! He gets both Colossi, and he is taking Avenge apart bit by bit, piece by piece, doing terrible, terrible damage with all those Hydralisks with full upgrades.
Yeah.
This is... Avenge is fighting, like, he is fighting his heart out here. He's doing whatever he can, microing, macroing it up, but just this advantage that Ragnarok had from the start.
Dancing the Hydras! He dances the Hydras, and Zealots have found the base of the bottom left, but it doesn't matter.
It's a little bit too late.
It is, yeah, certainly so.
What a boss game. Ragnarok showing balls right from the start, starting with a 9 pull here, doing a lot of damage. We don't have the Nexus cancel for Avenge. He's losing a lot of his economy. He's far behind. We have the 3rd base coming up. The cannon attack against the 3rd is not too successful. He doesn't take down the hatch. He could not force a cancel. Tried to maybe even avoid it with that attack on the pylon, but right now Ragnarok, he is reaping what he saw. He's moving in with his army and is taking Avenge apart piece by piece.
At this point, Avenge is basically just trying to make a good show for us here in his last stand. Could make it into a movie, maybe. It would be really sad with like sad music playing right now. He still has his 3rd Nexus up miraculously.
He's on half supply though.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to win this game, but he pushed the attack back, and all that Ragnarok has to do now, on the other hand, is just wait a few minutes and then go for the Remax. He's already basically Remaxed. A lot of the army here is probes. I mean, the probes became the army.
He has no resources banked up anymore, Ragnarok that is, but the fact of the matter also that he doesn't really need them anymore. Somehow the Colossi survives the first yank, but the second one takes
He like died mid-air?
Mid-flight, yeah.
Ouch. Well, that's the end. You know, begs the question, did they send Avenge out at the wrong time? They'll never know, but that's it. GG.
GG.